Book Blitz! Welcome back to Twilight, everybody. Chapter 20, Impatience. Well, Bella and Alice and Jasper are on the run. And in this chapter, they drive and they finally arrive in Phoenix. And Bella wakes up in this hotel room. So they're staying in this hotel room while they wait to hear any news from Edward and company, who are waiting to ambush James, or hoping to ambush James. So they are staying at a hotel that's nearby the airport just in case they need to fly anywhere. They're trying to make all the plans and preparations that they possibly can. And basically it's just a whole lot of just waiting. That's the title of the chapter is Patience. So it's just, they're just waiting. And they spend a lot of time just kind of pacing around and talking to each other, just small talk. We get to know Alice and Jasper just a little bit better. Alice has one of her visions, and she sees a strange room full of mirrors. And she starts sketching it out. And Bella eventually realizes that this is a ballet studio. And not only a ballet studio, it's a ballet studio that she used to go to when she was a little girl, and it's here in Phoenix. And this vision has James in this ballet studio. So eventually Edward calls and he lets them know that they lost James. It seems either he figured out that they were trying to ambush him, or maybe they just lost him in general. They don't know really where he is or what's going on, but they don't know where he is. So Bella starts to get worried about her mom, because she realizes, oh wait, if James is missing and he's just kind of roaming around trying to find out everything about me that he can, then my mom could be in danger. So she starts trying to call her mom. And she leaves a message for her, but there's no answer or anything like that. And so, she's just getting really worried, but there's nothing that can be done. And so they just have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And so as Bella tries to sleep and tries to pass more time while they're waiting on any news about anything, or even a phone call back from her mom, we end the chapter. I like that we actually see one of Alice's visions and like how it actually happens, because Alice has had, and granted, we saw another vision of Alice's during the baseball game, but this has a lot more time to develop, and it gives us a chance to kind of see Alice's mind at work, Alice as a character, how she interacts with Jasper in these situations. Jasper's like right there by her side, making sure everything's okay. I like the dynamics of their relationship. I like how they interact. I like how they interact with Bella. I like that their attempts to calm Bella down and kind of comfort her with what's going on. And I think Bella, this is one of the best examples in the whole book, I think, of Bella being written really well as a teenage girl, as a believable, relatable teenage character, where this seems like it'd be really realistic. Like this is how, most people would react this way. Most people would be pacing around and trying not to focus too much on this and all this, but it feels very real and it feels very relatable. It doesn't feel, this isn't Aragon staring at a knot in the wood in a table. God. This is a relatable human being going through a very trying time, and it actually works really well. It's relatable. It's believable. It's one of the better examples in the book, I think, of Bella's character, Bella's personality, and how she's coping with something, like, I don't know. I think it just works really nicely.
Yeah, I liked the chapter a lot. I liked when I like a generic.
This was a chapter, and I thought it was good.
It happened. It was a good chapter. What am I gonna say?
It's like freaking Purd from Parks and Rec. He's like, this was a chapter, which is a series of words and a story organized into a section, and I thought it was good.
God. Aye. But I like it. I mean, like, I don't know. So this chapter includes them in the car, right? And like then them
Yeah.
arriving, and then what I liked about this chapter is that it's basically like you get to really freaking know in your story, Alice, my story, Archie.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I want to hear about the gender bent too.
and so like you just get to really know them, and so like Archie's like they're like the like because Bo gets really like ill, like he kind of he's so stressed out he just kind of like can't handle it, and so I think Jessamine Jessamine in my version, um, like makes him go to sleep, and so he wakes up and like I don't know, it's them caring for him. Like he's on the way to the thing and they care for them, and then once they're at that like secret location in Phoenix, they're caring for him and like you know
Yeah.
Archie's ordering food and having it brought and that kind of stuff. And that inherently makes you like them because they're being nice to the protagonist. You know what I mean? But he also just starts talking like you start you like you know Bo's full of questions, tons and tons of questions, always constantly, and Archie so much more just better of a human being than Edith is. Um, actually answers Bo's questions. You know what I mean? Actually goes, yeah, sure. Like does not care. Like could care less how many questions he asks. You know, he asks as many as he wants. But you kind of also get the kind of interesting dynamic of the fact that Archie like sees him asking the questions beforehand and then answers them, so that like basically Bo only has to kind of come up with the like the desire to ask the question, and then Archie's already answering it, um, which I thought was interesting, but I also feel like would eventually like the book never discusses this, but I feel like that would eventually make it to where Archie could not like he wouldn't have any questions to foresee because like the whole point is that he sees a future in which Bo asks the question. But if he always answers the questions before Bo asks them, then eventually Bo's gonna get used to never having to ask a question, and then he won't ask the question. Anyway, but then you could argue that if Archie just waited long enough, Bo would then ask the question anyway. Anyway, but you can now we're getting to like the subtleties of future thought. But yeah, I don't know. It was cool. Like it's interesting because they're new characters. They're interesting. You get to learn about a little bit about Archie, a little bit, just his personality wise, just from how he talks and the questions he answers. Um, the
Well, and
update
can I
on
also
yeah,
say
you go.
like I like so something that has happened throughout the book so far. A couple we haven't really talked about it yet, but a couple times we've found out that Edward does not at all want Bella to know how the process of changing into a vampire works, what the mechanics of it are, like how it actually happens. And he doesn't want Bella to know the little that he knows. Well, Bella asks Alice about all of this, and it's like you said, it's like, just straight up answers, just tells her what she knows, at least some of it. And so we find out that basically the mechanics of how someone becomes a vampire is that a vampire drinks their blood, but not to the point where they die. They drink their blood, and their venom, vampire venom, also goes into the person. And that venom from the bite is what transforms someone into a vampire over the course of several days. And we also find out that Alice has no memory of how she became a vampire at all. She doesn't remember any of the circumstances surrounding it. And that's also something that I don't, to be honest, I don't fully understand why that is made such a big deal of. Even the reveal of why that is in one of the later chapters, I still don't really get why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, like it really like what relevance does it have to like the actual story that's happening right now?
Yeah,
Like
it just kind of feels
none.
like
Like yeah,
I don't know. It feels like it's like, okay, this is in this book where I want to flesh out Alice. And so Alice is going to have her big reveal in this book because this is the Alice has her reveal book. And that's one of those
yeah.
things I just am
Not
kind of like,
because yeah.
because that's actually something, like, if you haven't seen the movies or read the other books or anything, so something that actually kind of happens over the course of the series is each book you have, another one or two members of the Cullen family that you find out about their past, and you find out what makes them tick, and what their history is and stuff like that. For I think pretty much all of them, that happens at one point or another. And so in this book, it happens to be, Alice and Carlisle that we learn about that. And yeah, we learned about Edward, but as far as the peripheral members of his family that are not Edward, we find out about Carlisle earlier, and we find out about Alice over the course of the rest of the book. And I don't know, that's kind of one of those things that just kind of feels, especially the way that it's kind of forced into the finale, feels a little bit, well, forced. It's just kind of there because, oh well, Alice is supposed to have an explanation, but anyway, I do like, it's like you said, I like that Alice is really upfront about this, that Alice has no qualms, or very little qualms, with actually sharing with Bella how this works, what it actually is, despite, going completely against Edward's will. And that, which totally makes sense, because it's like you said earlier, I think in the last chapter you said this, that, Edward and, well, / Edith, very dominating personality, very and not just in personality too, but also just because of the sheer fact that this is the character, the love interest character, right? And so this is the character that we're supposed to want to know the most about, and that we're supposed to want to hear their opinions the most, and get to know the most over the course of the book, and see in action, right? And so I think that on the one hand, that, that's a strength, because, obviously this is something, it makes sense. It's one of the main characters. We need this. But at the same time, it's like you said, like, this is getting them out of the picture for the moment, getting Edward out of the picture completely, getting Edith out of the picture completely. It's kind of the only way you can have moments like this. It's kind of the only way you can have a chapter where we really get to know, Alice / Archie.
Yeah.
Like,
because Edith or Edward is literally like way too overbearing as a character. As he / she is like when she's around, she is Bo. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, Bo is just he kind of like, she's like this giant. She's like an aircraft carrier, you know what I mean? And then Bo's the fighter airplane. Like, and when she's around, Bo just lands and gets put into the hangar, and really all that's there is her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's a little extreme, but you can at least probably see Bo on the flight deck. You know what I mean? But it's there's an element of that where, like, there's only certain aspects of Bo that can exist when Edith's around. And Edith as a character is pretty straightforward. Like, she kind of says what's on her mind. If she's pissed off, she's pissed off. You see what I'm saying? Like, she's going to answer all of his questions, but as a character's personality, like, we kind of get her now. We've had this kind of moments with her enough to know that who she is. And that in a real sense, really, she's not that. Her only real facet is that she's just like obsessed with Bo. And so everything about her comes out of that. And while, she does have somewhat of a backstory and whatever, practically speaking, that's pretty much all that she is right now, is Bo, and focusing on him, and keeping him safe, and doing all these things. And so, Bo would never be in a room by himself with Archie. You see what I'm saying? Like, he would never be in a room by himself with Jessamine. He would never have as extensive conversations with his characters if she was around, because she would be, like, always at all times kind of sucking him back into the orbit around her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
which kind of pairs with the whole, when you really look at it, this relationship has strong unhealthy aspects.
Oh yeah. Like, if I saw anybody who had a relationship like Bo and Edith have in real life, like, yeah, and I actually have, and it's not good. Like, it's not healthy. Like, there may be genuine affection there, but it's also control, and, like, you stop being your person, you start being their person. And very much anyway, which I actually like the way my book ends, because I think a little bit of that is alleviated by the way my book ends.
Okay. Well, I'm curious how that happens. So anyway, until tomorrow, everybody. Tomorrow we are going to be, or I guess technically the day after tomorrow. I keep saying tomorrow out of habit, but really you guys are seeing these every other day. It's going to be phone call, and the waiting is finally going to be over. So until then, everybody, book Blitz.
Back Blats.